You know, just the concept of there's so many people out there that would be willing to hear the gospel, but are God's people stepping up to the plate and reaching them?
You know, it's interesting you mentioned that particular verse, that the harvest is plentiful. You know, I like to spin that a more positive way.
Sure.
This is a great opportunity for me.
It is.
And I'll tell you why. Because Jesus said, lay up for yourself treasures in heaven. In other words, get your focus on how you're going to be eternally rewarded. What are you doing today? What are you doing in the now that's really going to matter? Because it doesn't matter how much money you make. You can't take it with you. It
Don't
doesn't
take
matter.
a U-Haul to heaven.
No, it doesn't matter how much you go to the gym. Everybody dies. No one gets out of this one alive.
Yeah.
So if we get our focus on doing things that are a part of going out and being a disciple, or a part of letting our light shine.
Absolutely.
You know, if we do those things, and you mentioned short-term missions, well, there's getting involved in your church. There's local evangelistic,
Sure.
you know, outreaches, things like this. What that is it's laying up for yourself treasure in heaven.
Absolutely.
And that brings up, I think, another point, which is that, you know, when we become born again, we put our trust in Jesus, and Jesus likened that to being born again. Well, think about babies. When babies are born, you, me, none of us asked to be born, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't sit in our mother's womb and go, well, I'll take that little piece of DNA right there, and I think
Sure.
I like this skill over here. I like that talent over there. It doesn't work this way. It's wired into you. And in the same way, when you become born again, the Bible tells us that he wires into us spiritual gifts, spiritual giftedness. And for example, I do not have the gift of dealing with numbers. Hence, we have a pastor that works at our church. He takes care of all the finances. Because,
Sure.
I'm not a math major. It's just
Which,
not my
which
thing.
the Bible says there are many
Right.
parts of the body, right?
Many parts.
And so we all play as different parts of that body. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you work at the church here, and you have a giftedness with worship and with youth and with making sure our building doesn't fall apart and things like that. I don't have those gifts, so we lean on you. And so I think another part of, you know, how do we please God is we don't stuff the stuff that God has given us. What is it? I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's some people I know that they just have a natural gift. I mean, they can just step right in and they can work with 5-year-olds like nobody's business.
Absolutely.
I'm just amazed at how good they are with kids that age.
Well, you know,
or whatever.
That makes me totally think of Jesus gives the parable of the talents, right?
Yes.
So Jesus gives us this analogy, and he says, suppose a man gives one man 1 talent, one man 2, and another 5, right?
Yeah.
And he goes away for a time. He comes back and he sees what they did with their talents. You know, the man with the 5 went and doubled his. You know, the guy with the 2 went and turned his into more too. But the guy with the 1 was nervous, and he took what talent God gave him. It was more referring to money, talent. But it's the principle. It could be your talents or gifts too.
Yeah.
But you take what God has given you, and if you just bury it in the ground because you're just nervous, that's not living by faith. And in fact, Jesus says that that's very displeasing to God, right?
Absolutely.
And he wants, wherever you're at, whatever gifts you have, whatever talents, whatever strengths and your weaknesses, just use it for God.
Yeah.
Right?
Just dive in. Use what God has given you. And don't try to be all things to all men. I've been around, the church for a long time. And when we started the church that we're at now, it was my wife and my kids and a couple of people. And of course, when you're that small, you have to do everything. Whether you're good at it or not, you're doing everything.
Sure.
I mean, I may not be the greatest singer in the world, but I was up there going, all right, let's sing this song, But as you go and as you grow, you begin to recognize that, well, here's what the gifts that I've been given. This is where I need to focus.
Sure.
And I need to depend on other parts of the body to do their thing.